So, dear friends, good evening to all of you. I welcome you here. And today we are going to discuss site-specific nutrient management. This is not applicable under Indian conditions, site-specific nutrient management, because our field sizes are small, first thing. And secondly, uh, it requires very sophisticated instrumentation. It requires GPS, GIS, VRT, variable rate technology, remote sensing, yield monitors. Number of modern gadgets are required for site-specific nutrient management. If you want true SSNM, then that cannot happen in India, even today. But from this, we have taken some important part and try to implement according to Indian conditions. However, still it is not that much popular, or rather, it is not practiced by Indian farmers, SSNM, because it is part of your syllabus and this course. Therefore, it is necessary to understand fundamentals of site-specific nutrient management. So today we are going to discuss the concepts of nutrient fertilizer management in crop production. In this case, these are very fundamentals related to fertilizer application. And here also we see a lot of precision is required. A lot of precision is needed even in fertilizer application, and understand the concepts, principles, and practices of site-specific nutrient management. I will refer it as SSNM in short, site-specific nutrient management. So now, before we go into the details of the subject, let us see some glossary, some difficult words. So coated fertilizers. So coated fertilizers have been developed to increase the use efficiency of the nutrients. Because in coated fertilizer, you get slow release of fertilizers nutrient. So fertilizer that is covered with a thin layer of a different material in order to improve the characteristics of the fertilizer. So friends, recently, number of coated fertilizers have been developed, and particularly I can name this urea gold. Have you heard of urea gold?
Yes, sir. It is a very recent release. 17% sulfur something.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it is known as urea gold, and say 6 months back, it was released by the Prime Minister of India, and it contains 17% sulfur and 35% nitrogen. And it is a kind of coated fertilizer. Sulfur has been coated. By weight, it is you can say 17%. By weight, it is 17% sulfur in this fertilizer. It has entered the fertilizer control order, and its common name is urea gold. And the size of the bag is 40 kilogram. You know, neem coated urea or common urea bag size is 45 kg. 45 kg, yeah. And the price has been kept same, exactly same. Price of urea gold is 266 rupees 50 paisa, 266.5 rupees. So only they reduce the quantity just to compensate for the money spent on sulfur. So in future, it is going to be a good fertilizer, and definitely it will help farmers. Then compound fertilizers, where you have two or more major nutrients in a fertilizer, that is your compound fertilizer, like your DAP, your NPK fertilizers, 17, 17, 17. There are different nutrient ratios in NPK fertilizer. They are compound fertilizers. Controlled release fertilizers are actually kind of slow release fertilizers, which have one or more of the nutrients and have limited solubility in the soil solution. So their availability is extended over a period of time. Controlled release fertilizers. Then banding, you know, it is a method of fertilizer application. It can be done before sowing of the crop, at the time of sowing of crop, or even after sowing of the crop. Fertilizer can be applied in bands. So it is a method of fertilizer or other agri-chemical application above, below, or alongside the planted seed row. So you can place it below the soil or on side of the row or above the soil. Then crop sensors are important. They are part of precision farming. And in precision farming, we have SSNM. So SSNM is actually part of the precision farming. So in precision farming or SSNM also, we use some crop sensors that sense the status of particularly chlorophyll or nitrogen status. But there are some other sensors also which are available. So optical crop sensors used to measure and or quantify crop health or conditions by shining light of specific wavelength at crop leaves and measuring the type and intensity of the light wavelengths reflected back to the sensors. So we have already discussed this issue with when we were discussing NDVI. Now you see electromagnetic energy, or it comes from solar radiation. Solar radiation gives us electromagnetic energy that is reflected or emitted from objects or maybe our plants in form of electrical and magnetic waves which can travel through space. That is your electromagnetic energy. Then geographic information system, GIS. This is also important. This is a kind of software which is installed in computers, some special computers, and it makes the maps. It is used to make maps of say soil fertility map, or any parameter of the soil or plant can be mapped, and you need to feed some data like your coordinates of the places, different locations. You can use GPS and then particular data or information, and that can be converted in the form of maps. So GIS is nothing, it is just a software in computer which makes maps. If you fill the data, numerical data, we can put the numerical data kind of information, and that information can be converted into form of a map. And I'll discuss it later also. Then global positioning system. We are aware of GPS. It can tell us exact location of a person or a place or any object on the earth. So we very frequently use GPS now to trace people, to trace criminals, to trace so many things. So this GPS tells us the longitude, latitude, this kind of information, exact location on the earth. Then grid soil sampling, it is a special technique of soil sampling which is used in precision agriculture. So they divide a field into grids, typically 2.5 acres each for soil sampling. So grid sampling, for the time being, we can know that it is a kind of sampling which is practiced in precision farming. So friends, you can call it precision farming or precision agriculture. They are the same word. Agriculture is exactly synonymous of farming. So in Europe or other countries, some countries, they call it precision agriculture. In India, we prefer the word farming. That is only difference. And then NDVI image, the normalized difference vegetation index, NDVI, is a simple graphical indicator that can be used to analyze remote sensing measurements and assess whether the target being observed contains live green vegetation or not. So based upon NDVI image, we can track the greenness of the plant materials. Now, precision agriculture or precision farming, see, this is important. It utilizes innovative site-specific techniques for management of spatial and temporal variability using affordable technologies. So let us try to understand meaning of these three sentences. So technologies are innovative. They are site-specific. Site-specific means applicable only to a certain area of the land or certain area of the field or certain part of the soil, you can say. And it is with respect to management of spatial and temporal variability. Spatial means variability with space, and temporal means variability with time. So spatial variability here means in our field, some areas you can see you will find more moisture, in other part you will see less moisture. So this is spatial variability. In one part of the field you will see more nitrogen, available nitrogen is more. In other part you will see available nitrogen is less. So likewise there are a lot of soil physical, chemical, and biological parameters where we will find lot of variability. So that is your spatial variability, variability in space. Then temporal with time. First year or during first 3 months or 2 months, your soil content, one particular area of soil content, say X amount of phosphorus. And then after 3 months, it may contain different level of phosphorus. So that is your temporal variability. So variability with time. It can happen due to crop production or management techniques with time. Every year, your soil will not remain same. So that is your temporal variability. So I just repeat it. Utilizes innovative site-specific techniques for management of spatial and temporal variability using affordable technology. So technology should be cheaper one for enhancing. Now, what is the purpose of precision agriculture? So in the last 3 lines, you can see the purpose of precision agriculture. Enhancing output means these techniques will enhance the output, efficiency of inputs, and profitability. Finally, the purpose is to get profitability of agricultural production in an environmentally responsible manner. That means it will also keep environment less polluted compared to conventional practices. This precision agriculture or precision farming can be compared with the conventional farming or conventional practices. So you can see in conventional practices, the output is lower. Through precision agriculture, we want to increase the output. Similarly, efficiency of different inputs may be lower in conventional agriculture, but here it is improved. You will see how it can be improved. And finally, if the efficiency is improved, means with less we can produce more, then it is definitely give us more profit because the input supply or input addition can be cut, can be reduced. So it will be profitable. And also because input level has been cut, had been reduced. So therefore, the ill effect on the environment will be less. So for example, if we increase the fertilizer efficiency by 5%, so fertilizer consumption will decrease. And that way farmers' cost of production will decrease. And also the pollution that was being caused will also reduce. So therefore, precision agriculture, people say, can be sustainable agriculture, theoretically. So this is a complete definition of precision agriculture. So in this definition, if in place of input, if we say fertilizer, or if we say nutrient is our input, then it becomes site-specific nutrient management. Definition of site-specific nutrient management. Now people are also talking about the seed rate. Seed rate should not be used uniformly throughout the field. Wherever you get high fertility, there you can use less seed rate. And where you get less fertility, there you can use more seed rate, particularly in tilling crops, in crops where tilling happens. So likewise, site-specific seed management, herbicide management, many inputs have been tried in precision agriculture. So it is not just fertilizer or nutrients. Now, coming to site-specific nutrient management, SSNM. So we can see that it is a set of nutrient management principles combined with good crop management practices that will help farmers to attain high yield. Same thing is there in this definition. What we have seen in the precision agriculture. Increase the yield, achieve high profitability both in short and medium term. So this is how we can define SSNM also. Now, in SSNM or any precision agriculture technology, we need to use variable rate technology. Variable rate technology, actually, these are the machines actually, machines mounted on the tractor. So variable rate technology here means, suppose in one particular area of the field, you have more weeds. In another area, you do not have any weeds. But if we use herbicide in the conventional agriculture, so we will uniformly apply the doses of herbicide to the whole field. But in precision agriculture, the machines are available that will apply only to the herbicide only to the targeted area where you have more weeds. So that way, these machines are called as variable rate technology. This is kind of variable rate. Rate of seed can be manipulated by machines Rate of fertilizer application can be manipulated by machines, and any input, for any input you can have variable rate technology. I will discuss in detail how it can be used, VRT. So variable rate technology is also important, which is part of SSNM. Yield maps. Yield maps are also important, a map that indicates differences in crop yield within a field. So you must have observed that in certain areas of the field or certain patches, you may get more yield. In certain areas, you may get less yield. And it is basically, I'm talking about the larger plots. I'm not talking plots of 1 biga or 2 biga. And in the beginning, I told that this precision farming or agriculture is applicable at larger area, not fit for Indian conditions where we have smaller plot. So if you have very big plots, say fields of 10 hectare, 12 hectare, 15 hectare, that is very common in America, Australia, and some European countries. Particularly in Australia and America, they have very large field size. In America, you might be knowing that only 3% population is engaged in agriculture, maybe less than 3%, means fewer farmers are managing agriculture. That means definitely they are going to have big sizes of farms or big sizes of fields. You must have also learned that in America, many times they go for helicopter. They use helicopters for spraying of herbicides or broadcasting of fertilizers. Or sometimes they go for this paddy, paddy cultivation, I know. They broadcast the seed. They do not go for transplanting of paddy. What they do, they puddle the field, make the puddling in larger area. Only one state or in one state they do paddy cultivation. In that state, they just puddle the land and make water impounded and then just broadcast the seed by helicopter. So of course now drones have come into picture. Drone can be used in smaller areas for this purpose. Tomorrow, who knows, for our smaller plots, this drone could be useful to implement concepts of SSNM or precision agriculture in India. So now, as I was telling, that the plots will vary in fertility. Plots will vary in electrical conductivity or many other parameters, chemical properties or physical properties. So the yields will be different. Yields will be different in different parts of the field. So therefore, yield monitors are simply kind of meters, kind of metering device. Like we measure water flow. Water flow can be measured very easily. That this is the what so much of cubic meter water is flowing in the channel per second or per minute, isn't it? So a lot of water metering devices are there. Similarly, yield metering. Metering means measure करना. Yield को नापने वाले devices आते हैं. जब harvest किया जाता है, whenever farmers harvest the crop by combine machine in USA or other country, so they put one small device on the combine, and which every 1 or 2 seconds measures the yield per unit area. It automatically converts. So when combine harvesting is being done, that time this device, yield mapper or yield mapping machine, is recording the yield per unit area per meter square, and it will give the complete information that in this field, this particular area had so much of production, say 5 ton per hectare. Another area will give you 5.5, another 5.2 likewise. So that is known as yield mapping. So it is done at the time of harvesting of the crop. So this tells us the story that where we have more fertility, where we have less fertility, or where we have more constraints or more problems related to crop or related to soil. So these yield maps are also part of precision agriculture or SSNM. Now, yield monitor. So yield maps are actually prepared based upon the yield monitor. So these yield maps are basically based upon yield monitor. I was referring to that machine as yield monitor. That machine was, or device was, yield monitor, which will give us the map, yield map. Simple yield map means you can get the data, and this data can be put into the GIS. And the machine will also record the coordinates in the field, the exact location of every data. And then this information is put into the GIS computer, and it will give us the map, very simple map of the whole field, that this is the distribution of the yield. आपने मैप देखे होंगे तमाम, जैसे रेनफॉल का मैप होगा अपने देश का, और भी मैप देखे होंगे, कलर से ही डिपिक्शन कर देते हैं। जैसे ग्रीन कलर दिखाया उन्होंने वेजिटेशन के लिए किसी के लिए, तो वो लाइट कलर करेंगे और लाइट करेंगे, कहीं डार्क करेंगे और डार्क करेंगे, या 2-3 अलग अलग तरह के कलर दिखा देते हैं मैप में, आपने जरूर देखा होगा। तो इस तरह के मैप उसके बना लिए जाते हैं। आपका डीपर कलर होता जाएगा तो यील्ड बढ़ती जाएगी, लाइटर कलर होगा तो यील्ड घटती जाएगी। So I think you understand now what is yield map and what is yield monitor. So you will get more clarity as we progresses into this. So now we go to the nutrient management, because we are talking about, we want to talk about site-specific nutrient management. So let us know nutrient management. What do we mean by nutrient management? So it is application of plant nutrients through commercial fertilizers, organic manures, biofertilizers, crop residues, or other sources to crops. Means applying the nutrients to the crops through different sources is your nutrient management. But here emphasis is given on right amount, the proper rate of application of fertilizer, right source, applying the proper type, right method, right time. I think you know all these 4 R's are there. I'll just refresh your memories and touch this subject in brief, and then switch over to SSNM. Now, by considering above 4 R's, R's means right time, right amount, right dose, right method, efficiency of nutrient use is enhanced, resulting in minimum losses of nutrient to the environment and maximum recovery. So main purpose of any nutrient program should be increase use efficiency of the nutrients. It results in protection of environment, reduce amount of nutrient supply or cost, and hence enhance profit. So if we follow all these 4 principles, that is also kind of precise nutrient management, but we cannot call it actually. We cannot call it because it is conventional. These kind of things are conventional, and what we see in the site-specific nutrient management, there we use technology, innovations, and machines are used in site-specific nutrient management. We know basic principles of fertilizer application, rate of fertilizer application, source of fertilizers, method of fertilizer application, and time of fertilizer application. These are 4 R's, I think you know. I'll touch in very brief. So you can see, first of all, rate of fertilizer application. In the last 2 lectures, we discussed a lot about how to decide the best rate of fertilizer application. Different approaches of soil fertility evaluation were discussed. And finally, we agreed that for giving fertilizer recommendations, we should go for soil test. After doing the soil test, we should go for field experimentation and develop the regression equation, and then find out the optimum dose of fertilizer. So, of course, some recommendations are coming from the laboratories, and these are the best recommendations that are to be adopted by the farmers. So recommended rates are determined through evaluation of expected yield potential, how much yield target is there, native soil nutrient supply, how much can be supplied from the nutrients, and what is the efficiency of crop recovery. If efficiency is 50%, then we need to double the rate of the fertilizer to supply the nutrients. Most soil testing labs provide recommended nutrient rates. Overall, here message is, whatever way you decide the quantity of the fertilizer or nutrients, that has to be the right amount. Now, I have already discussed this kind of thing, that you need at least supply of the nutrients should be in the optimum supply range. It has to be in the optimum supply range. Then you will get maximum profit and everything will be fine. Now, source of fertilizers. So right source for a nutrient must provide a balanced supply of all essential nutrient elements in plant available forms. So right source is very, very important. And you know, farmers are many times are not that much literate. If they are illiterate and they do not have much knowledge. If you know that nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium can be supplied through different fertilizers. One fertilizer, urea, can be used to supply nitrogen, or single superphosphate for phosphorus, and your muriate of potash for supplying potassium. So why farmers were given another choice of NPK fertilizer? The choice of NPK fertilizer was given so that by default they go for balanced fertilization. This was thing in mind of the people who started making NPK fertilizer. And now large quantity of NPK fertilizer is consumed by farmers. No, not by farmers. They apply to the land. Farmers apply to the land. So the right source must also consider any nutrient interaction or compatibility. This is also important that when we select the sources of different nutrients, we need to see the compatibility also. For example, the single superphosphate should not be mixed with zinc sulfate, I think. So there are some fertilizer combination that should not be made. So compatibility of fertilizer should be seen. The right source may vary with the crop, the soil properties of the field, and method of application. So source varies with the crop. Some crops may require, say, ammonical nitrogen, like in case of rice. So ammonical fertilizer are better in rice. And soil properties means your soils are acidic, then acid-forming fertilizer should not be used. Rather, we should use some alkaline kind of fertilizers. And method of application is also important. For example, if we have soluble phosphatic fertilizer like single superphosphate and DAP, these are the soluble phosphatic fertilizer. They are soluble in water. So they should be applied in bands. However, rock phosphate, which is insoluble fertilizer, it is insoluble in citric acid. So rock phosphate should not be applied in bands. It should be broadcast. It should be broadcast applied so that it comes in maximum, it comes in contact with maximum volume of the soil. So therefore, in case of rock phosphate, we want to get it solubilized. So we want to spread it as much as possible into the soil. However, if we see single superphosphate or DAP, it should come in the contact of minimum soil in the field. Otherwise, if we broadcast this DAP or SSP, then fixation of phosphorus will be more. So that is why this method and your soil properties and crop properties are important in choosing the kind of fertilizer we want to apply. Several options are available for slow and controlled release fertilizer materials. They can also be tried. Selection of fertilizer source is based on crop need, soil properties, and also cost is also important. Because see, urea was cheaper fertilizer. So people use more of urea in India also. 80% nitrogen is used through urea. If you see in USA and many developed countries, in Europe, they use ammonium nitrate because production of ammonium nitrate is cheaper than production of urea. So ammonium nitrate is cheaper than urea. But India, ammonium nitrate is not allowed to be used because it has alternative uses. It can be used as explosive material. So in America, they prefer this anhydrous ammonia. Anhydrous ammonia, that is very cheapest source of nitrogen. Anhydrous ammonia, you just produce ammonia, you combine nitrogen and hydrogen into 1:3 ratio, and then you get ammonia. And under high pressure, it becomes liquid. So what these Americans do, they liquidify this ammonia gas and convert it into liquid under high pressure. And they have tractors and machine. They put behind the machine and they can inject it. They can inject it into the soil, which is easily converted into ammonium by taking water from the soil. So that is the cheapest. So cost is also important in choosing the fertilizer. In India, this anhydrous ammonia could not succeed it contains 80% nitrogen, friends, 80% nitrogen. And your urea contains 46% nitrogen. In India, it could not succeed mainly because of availability of machinery. Machinery and facilities were not there. But once you make big investment, later you can get more and more profit. So finally, over years, the cost of production becomes lower. But since the initial investment is large, so therefore it was not successful in India. You know, to make ammonia, you need only two things. One is nitrogen, other is hydrogen. But if you want to make urea, then you need to produce ammonia with carbon dioxide also. So one more reaction is required, and that needs your investment or energy. So if you combine ammonia plus carbon dioxide, you can produce urea. But in using ammonia, you don't need this reaction. Hence, the urea becomes expensive than the ammonia or anhydrous ammonia. Now, you see, broadly speaking, these are the methods of fertilizer application. You must have studied all these. So, for example, you can go for broadcasting. Broadcasting can be done in the form of basal application or top dressing. So, this is also a method. And then you can see placement. Placement is also there, where you can have deep placement, plow sole placement, localized placement, pellet application. Band placement can be of two types: hill placement, row placement. So these kind of classification exist in our Indian fertilizer technology or Indian books. But this kind of classification is not very authentic, very scientific. Because if we are broadcasting a fertilizer, that also means that we are placing it in the soil. Maybe we are not placing at a targeted place, but after all, it is being placed. Place means रखना. Place का मतलब तो यही हुआ ना कि रखना किसी जगह पे. Place. So in American books, for all kind of this fertilizer application, solid fertilizer application or liquid fertilizer application, they call it simple placement. Placement of fertilizer. Only one word is enough for them, and they say pre-plant placement, during the planting and after the planting. मतलब बुआई के पहले जो फर्टिलाइजर अप्लाई किया वो भी प्लेसमेंट है, बुआई के समय पे जो फर्टिलाइजर आपने डाला सॉइल में वो भी प्लेसमेंट है, और जब क्रॉप आपकी बढ़ना शुरू हो गई तब भी आपने जो फर्टिलाइजर डाला वो भी प्लेसमेंट है. तीनों को वो प्लेसमेंट ही यूज करते हैं. हमारे यहाँ टर्मिनोलॉजी में ज्यादा जाते हैं हम लोग. जैसे मैं पिछली बार कह रहा था, फर्टिलिटी प्रोडक्टिविटी में टाइम निकाल देते हैं अननेसेसरली. तो इसी तरीके से जो फर्टिलाइजर एप्लीकेशन के मेथड्स हैं, इनके क्लासिफिकेशन में इतनी एनर्जी और इतना बारीकी से सवाल जवाब किए जाते हैं जो बहुत उचित नहीं है. इसका मतलब यह है कि उनको गहराई से पता ही नहीं है कि भाई इसका मतलब क्या है, क्या होता है फर्टिलाइजर एप्लीकेशन, क्या प्लेसमेंट होता है. सो एवरीथिंग इज इंक्लूडेड इन प्लेसमेंट फॉर सॉलिड फर्टिलाइजर एज वेल एज लिक्विड फर्टिलाइजर. कुछ जैसे लिक्विड फर्टिलाइजर, जैसे मैंने बताया था आपको अभी अमोनिया का बात बताई, तो जो टिस्डेल की किताब है आपका, आजकल और भी ऑथर्स आ गए, नेंसल टिस्डेल. सो उस बुक में बड़े अच्छे से उन्होंने इस तरह से बताया गया है न्यूट्रिएंट प्लेसमेंट इन सॉइल. न्यूट्रिएंट एप्लीकेशन को दे हैव कंसीडर्ड एज न्यूट्रिएंट प्लेसमेंट. ना कोई ऐसा कोई क्लासिफिकेशन है उनके पास कि हिल प्लेसमेंट है, ये प्लाउ सोल प्लेसमेंट है, ये वो. अगर आप इस क्लासिफिकेशन को देखोगे तो यू विल आल्सो गेट कन्विंस्ड. आपको भी लगेगा कि हाँ यार, हम अभी तक जो है तमाम अननेसेसरी निरर्थक चीजों पे अपनी एनर्जी लगा रहे थे. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. ठीक है. सो फर्टिलाइजर प्लेसमेंट ऑप्शंस जनरली इन्वॉल्व सरफेस और सब सरफेस एप्लीकेशन. या तो सरफेस पे डालेंगे फर्टिलाइजर को, बोने के पहले डालेंगे, बोते समय डालेंगे या बाद में डालेंगे, या हम उसको सब सरफेस डालेंगे, मतलब जमीन के अंदर कूड़ में डालेंगे. यही बस दो चीज है, सब सरफेस और सब सरफेस. और जो फोलियर स्प्रे की बात है, वो उतना कोई प्रोमिनेंट या डोमिनेंट कोई फर्टिलाइजर एप्लीकेशन का मेथड नहीं है. आप भी जानते हो, रेयरली कभी फर्टिलाइजर के स्प्रे फार्मर्स करते हैं, नहीं तो वो उतना कॉमन है. मेन जो है ना आपका सॉलिड फर्टिलाइजर हम लोग डालते हैं सोइल में. सो इन दिस यू सी देयर आर 3 इंपॉर्टेंट टाइमिंग्स. वन इज प्री प्लांट प्लेसमेंट, बोने के पहले, एट प्लांटिंग एट द टाइम ऑफ सोइंग, पोस्ट प्लांट प्लेसमेंट जब हमारी फसल बढ़ना शुरू हो जाती है, जब हम टॉप ड्रेसिंग वगैरह करते हैं या साइड ड्रेसिंग करते हैं, तब पोस्ट प्लांट प्लेसमेंट. तो आगे से कभी आप अपने स्टूडेंट को पढ़ाएं या देखें, तो मेरे ख्याल से इस तरह से आप पढ़ाएंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा। प्री प्लांट प्लेसमेंट, एट प्लांटिंग एंड पोस्ट प्लांट प्लेसमेंट। इसमें बड़े सुंदर तरीके से उसने समझाया है, इलस्ट्रेशन ऑफ वेरियस न्यूट्रिएंट प्लेसमेंट ऑप्शंस। सो इसमें आप देखिए 3 में सारे मेथड को बांट दिया इसने। बिफोर प्लांटिंग मीन्स प्री प्लांट, एट प्लांटिंग एंड आफ्टर प्लांटिंग। सो बिफोर प्लांटिंग क्या हो सकता है? एक तरीका है ब्रॉडकास्ट, आपने बखेर दिया और उसको इनकारपोरेट नहीं किया, यू हैव नॉट इनकारपोरेटेड, अनइनकारपोरेटेड। तो आप इसमें अगर ध्यान से देखें, आपको दिख रही है पिक्चर, पहली वाली बार दिख रही है आपको ये?
यस
Yes,
सर।
sir.
हाँ, इसमें डॉट डॉट दिख रहा है आपको? इसमें दिखाया गया कि ये आपका सिर्फ सरफेस पे पड़ा हुआ है फर्टिलाइजर, अगर ध्यान से देखेंगे आप। मुझे पता
यस
नहीं
सर।
कितनी क्लियर पिक्चर आ रही है आपके यहाँ। दूसरा देखेंगे
Yes,
आप, ब्रॉडकास्ट इनकारपोरेटेड। तो इसमें आपने ब्रॉडकास्ट किया, फिर सॉइल के ऊपरी 15-20 सेंटीमीटर डेप्थ में हल्की हैरो चला के या कल्टीवेटर चला के आपने उसको मिक्स कर दिया। तो ये एक प्लेसमेंट है, ये भी एक प्लेसमेंट है एक तरह का। दिस इज ब्रॉडकास्ट प्लेसमेंट है, इनकारपोरेटेड। फिर थर्ड पे देखें आप, ये भी बिफोर प्लांटिंग है, सरफेस बैंड ड्रिबल, ड्रिबलिंग कर देते हैं इसमें सरफेस पे बैंड के रूप में। ये आपकी पिक्चर दिख रही है ना, दूर दूर रखते हैं इसको। फिर इसी में आपके शामिल है एक और, वन मोर इज देयर, सब सरफेस बैंड प्लेसमेंट। तो सब सरफेस, सरफेस के नीचे आप इसको रख सकते हैं। इस तरह से ये दिख रहा है आपको सरफेस। ये पिक्चर इसने 3 डायमेंशनल बनाने की कोशिश की है, ये वाली लाइन जो है, लेकिन इसमें आपका है अंदर सब सरफेस में प्लाव प्लाव बना के अंदर इसको लगा दिया गया। तो ये तो आपके मेथड हो गए बिफोर प्लांटिंग। एट प्लांटिंग, जब आप बुआई कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें 3 तरीका हो सकता है। एक तो विद सीड, बीज और खाद मिला देते हैं। ये किसान अक्सर करते थे पहले, जब सीड ड्रिल वगैरह नहीं थी, फर्टिकम सीड ड्रिल नहीं थी। हमने देखा हमारे दादा गेहूं जब बोते थे तो गेहूं में आपका फर्टिलाइजर को मिला लेते थे और उसी में खूड़ में जो है डाल देते थे, गेहूं और खाद टुगेदर। अभी भी बहुत से किसान बीज और खाद को मिक्स करके और डालते हैं। तो ये रोज में डालते हैं, मतलब बीज के साथ खाद मिला के एक ही रो में, सेम रो, यू कैन पुट सीड एंड फर्टिलाइजर इन द सेम रो। सो प्लांटिंग एक तो ऑप्शन ये है। दूसरा है सरफेस बैंड ट्रिपल, ट्रिपल कर सकते हैं सरफेस बैंड पे। ये इस तरह की बैंड बना सकते हैं, एक हमारी सीड की हो गई और एक हमारी बैंड ये सरफेस पे है, इट इज नॉट इनटू द सॉइल। तीसरा है हमारा सब सरफेस बैंड, सब सरफेस बैंड बिलो एंड और टू द साइड, मतलब बीज के नीचे भी ले जा सकते हैं बैंड को और बीज के साइड में भी ले जा सकते हैं। तो ये मेथड हमारे 3 है, 3 methods are there in at planting. Now coming to after planting, बुआई के बाद जब हमारी फसल ग्रो करना शुरू करती है, तो पहला ऑप्शन है ब्रॉडकास्ट टॉप ड्रेस, मतलब पूरे खेत में छिड़क दिया हमने। आप देखें सरफेस पे फर्टिलाइजर पड़ा हुआ है, दिस इज ब्रॉडकास्ट टॉप ड्रेस। सेकंड इज सरफेस बैंड, सरफेस बैंड आपने देखा क्रॉप के पास में एक बैंड बना दी, देयर वन बैंड इज देयर, सो दिस इज योर सरफेस बैंड। एंड देन सब सरफेस बैंड, सब सरफेस बैंड भी बना देते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली इन वाइडली स्पेस क्रॉप। अगर आपकी कॉटन है, शुगर केन है, तो उसमें मशीन जा सकती है और मशीन से ये लोग इसमें आपको फर्टिलाइजर को जमीन के अंदर प्लेस किया जा सकता है। तो दीज आर 3 इंपॉर्टेंट, यू सी, फर्टिलाइजर एप्लीकेशन मेथड। And for more, you can see at the time of planting, if you have any confusion, you can see this picture. So one option is that surface band is possible. So in this case, your seed is, these plants are just too shown to make a difference, because at planting you cannot have plants. So ये समझाने के लिए पौधा बनाया गया है, लेकिन इस स्टेज पे पौधा होता नहीं है। ठीक है, तो इसमें ये दिखाया गया कि बीज डाला गया और बीज तो थोड़ा जमीन के नीचे है सरफेस बैंड में, लेकिन फर्टिलाइजर सरफेस पे डाल दिया गया। दूसरा है विद सीड, आप ध्यान से देखें सीड और फर्टिलाइजर एक साथ डाला गया है। तीसरा आप देखें कि सीड तो ऊपर है थोड़ा, सीड तो ऊपर है थोड़ा, लेकिन साइड में एक कूड़ बना के आपने फर्टिलाइजर डाल दिया उसमें। ये आपका साइड एंड बिलो सीड, साइड में है सीड से और सीड के नीचे है। फिर आप देखिए लास्ट ऑप्शन है कि सीड के सामने ठीक नीचे फर्टिलाइजर है, बिलो सीड। So it depends upon kind of fertilizer we are using and also the kind of crop we have. Now, after planting, also you can go for top dressing, broadcast. Nitrogen application are common on permanent or closed seed crops, as is small grains pastures. So top dressing is preferred in crops which are closely spaced. जो पास जिनकी रोज होती है वहां पे तो हम टॉप ड्रेसिंग करते हैं, जैसे राइस है हमारा, व्हीट है इनमें। और जहां पे चौड़ी होती है क्रॉप वहां पे प्लेसमेंट करते हैं प्लांटिंग पे। टॉप ड्रेस and P&K are not as effective as pre-plant application. So top dressing नहीं करना चाहिए P&K की. P&K should be placed near the seed or below the seed. Both solid and liquid sources can be used. Top dress granular urea in corn and sorghum may damage the crop due to urea granules. What happens? Sometimes क्या नाम, डॉक्टर विकास, आपने देखा होगा कि किसान अगर सुबह को गेहूं की फसल में या गन्ने की फसल में या किसी और फसल में अगर सुबह सुबह यूरिया छिड़क दें तो वो पत्ते सूख जाते हैं कुछ दिनों बाद, या मक्का की फसल हो तो आदमी सोचने लगता है तो कोई बीमारी लगी, कोई दिक्कत आ गई। एक्चुअल में क्या होता है, यूरिया के जो ग्रेन है ना, पार्टिकल, जो ग्रेन्यूल्स हैं वो चिपक जाते हैं पत्तों पे, और चिपकने के बाद उनसे अमोनिया निकलती है और उनकी नेचर जो है ना एल्कलाइन हो जाती है, तो वो इंजरी हो जाती है क्रॉप को जो है ना इंजरी हो जाती है। तो यूरिया को हमेशा मतलब ओस के बाद में डालना चाहिए जब ओस हट जाए, ये इसमें बताया गया है। द डिसॉल्विंग यूरिया प्लेसेस हाई साल्ट कंसंट्रेशन नियर द ग्रोइंग पॉइंट, तो इससे दिक्कत आ जाती है। दूसरा आपने देखा होगा कि अगर कोई सल्फेट फर्टिलाइजर हम यूज करते हैं, जिंक सल्फेट, आयरन सल्फेट, कॉपर सल्फेट, मैंगनीज सल्फेट, कोई भी सल्फेट फर्टिलाइजर यूज करते हैं तो ये एसिड बनाता है, जिसके लिए चूने का डालना बहुत जरूरी होता है टू न्यूट्रलाइज द एसिडिटी। जो एसिडिटी क्रिएट होती है इससे सल्फेट फर्टिलाइजर से, उसको दूर करने के लिए, तो पत्तियों में बर्निंग हो जाती है। तो इसमें ये ध्यान रखना चाहिए, स्प्रे हो, टॉप ड्रेसिंग हो, कि एक तो आपका एसिडिक या बेसिक फर्टिलाइजर ना हो और दूसरे आपके ओस के समय पे ना डाला जाए फर्टिलाइजर। टॉप ड्रेस फ्लूट फर्टिलाइजर में आल्सो डैमेज द क्रॉप इफ अप्लाइड अबव रिकमेंडेड रेट्स। ये आपका जिंक सल्फेट और सल्फेट के लिए अप्लाई होता है। लगाने के बाद आफ्टर क्रॉप हैज इमर्ज्ड और फसल हमारी खड़ी है खेत में, तब हम साइड ड्रेसिंग करते हैं। गन्ने में आपने अक्सर देखा होगा जो लोग किनारे उसके जड़ के पास में डालते चले जाते हैं, एक एक रो में, मतलब बैंड बैंड टाइप बनाते जाते हैं, वो आपकी साइड ड्रेस। तो ये नाइट्रोजन के लिए किया जाता है, फास्फोरस पोटाश के लिए नहीं किया जाता। एनहाइड्रस अमोनिया एंड फ्लूइड नाइट्रोजन सोर्सेज आर मोस्ट कॉमन। अमेरिका की बात हो रही है। फ्लूइड सोर्सेज आल्सो कैन बी सरफेस बैंड अप्लाइड बिसाइड द रो आफ्टर प्लांटिंग। तो जैसे यहाँ फ्लूइड का मतलब है एनहाइड्रस अमोनिया, उसका प्रयोग किया जा सकता है रो साइड ड्रेसिंग के रूप में। Side dress application increase flexibility since application can be made almost any time equipment can be operated. Now, after seeing this, now you see the time of fertilizer application. Time of fertilizer application depends upon cropping system, which cropping system we have followed, climate and nutrient and soil. Nutrient should be applied at a time that will maximize recovery by the crop and reduce potential. Actual में क्या होता है कि जब न्यूट्रिएंट की रिक्वायरमेंट ज्यादा हो तभी सप्लाई ज्यादा होनी चाहिए, यानी the supply should match to the demand of the nutrients. Now दो तीन एग्जांपल है, एक नाइट्रोजन, फास्फोरस और पोटाश का है। नाइट्रोजन का आप देख सकते हैं, इट इज डिजायरेबल टू अप्लाई नाइट्रोजन एज क्लोज टू पीक क्रॉप नाइट्रोजन डिमांड एज पॉसिबल। जब सबसे ज्यादा डिमांड हो तब अप्लाई किया जाए। नाइट्रोजन मोबाइल होती है सोयल में। द अमाउंट एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ रेनफॉल आर इंपॉर्टेंट कंसिडरेशन। कई बार ऐसा ना हो कि खेत में हमने नाइट्रोजन डाल दी और पानी खड़ा रहे 10-15 दिन, फिर उसमें डिनाइट्रिफिकेशन होने के चांस ज्यादा होते हैं, लॉसेस नाइट्रोजन के बढ़ जाते हैं। नाइट्रिफिकेशन और स्लो रिलीज फर्टिलाइजर इनहिबिटर्स यूज किए जा सकते हैं। और नाइट्रोजन के लिए सबसे बढ़िया रिकमेंडेशन यही है कि स्प्लिट एप्लीकेशन ऑफ नाइट्रोजन शुड बी डन एंड इट इज प्रैक्टिस्ड आल्सो। नाउ फॉर फास्फोरस, इट इज should be applied just before or at the time of planting. So many of us know that phosphorus application time is at the time of sowing or just before sowing. So soils which are low to moderate in phosphorus fixation capacity, broadcast P is an effective method. Means where there is no phosphorus fixation in the soil or little phosphorus fixation in the soil. In that case, broadcast P can be used. Broadcast method can be used. On low phosphorus and on high fixing soils, means if your soils have high phosphorus fixing capacity, then band application will be better option. Means the phosphatic fertilizer should come to the minimum contact of the soil. Now, what are the precautions for potassium regarding time of application? Potassium is relatively immobile compared to nitrogen. So in case of potassium also, it should be placed near the seed. That is the best way, means just before sowing or at the time of sowing, potassium should be used. However, recent research has been done in India and elsewhere also. So split application of potassium can also be made in wheat and rice crop. We also did some work on rice and we found that 25% or 30% potassium can be split applied after, say, first irrigation. Now, friends, we come to the actual topic. It was just background because SSNM basically relates to fertilizer, means management of fertilizers. So in this case, you see the difference in precision agriculture and traditional agriculture. So here, farm field is broken into management zones. So in precision farming or precision agriculture, we divide the whole field, the big field, into smaller units, which have similar kind of physical chemical properties, or most of the properties are similar. And those zones are called as management zones. Means some may have A1, you can put them in classes also. A1 with low fertility, A2, B2, C2, whatever name you want to give. But these are management zones. And then in conventional farming, what we are doing, whole field is treated as homogeneous area. And we use our inputs uniformly throughout the whole area. But here you cannot use. So therefore, management decisions based on requirement of each zone. Suppose in one zone you have acidic soil, so apply lime. In other part, don't apply lime. So, but in our cases, conventional farming, decisions are based on the averages. You can take the averages. In precision farming, there are a number of tools like GPS, GIS, VRT sensors are used, remote sensing is used, and inputs are applied uniformly across the field. So in case of this traditional farming, we do not use such tools. Now you see this picture concept of precision farming. So basically, you want to have right input. First thing is that right input or input which is required. If input is not required at all, do not use that input. As I was saying about lime, if needed, apply to the area management zone where it is needed. Then right time, just now we were discussing about time, right amount, right place, and right manner. So all these, see, most of the things are what we discussed in the fundamentals of fertilizer application. Same kind of things are here, but only difference is that in this case, you use the modern tools and modern techniques. So what is done here? Data collection is made. A lot of data is collected. Data about the soil. We need to collect the data of soil. And we need to collect the data of remote sensing data through some sensors or through some satellite. Satellite is also used to collect the data. And then the data is collected and maps are prepared. Maps are prepared by using GIS. And at the time of collection of data, we use GPS because this data is collected with respect to a particular place, particular location. So for location within the field means within 1 meter, you can get difference in data. So data collection happens, but coordinates of that particular location are also given. And then this data is fed to the GIS where you can do analysis, you can make the maps. And these maps suggest us management decision, how much to apply this particular fertilizer or particular input. Then decisions are made. So what happens here, after analyzing the data, you can link your data you can put your data in computer, and that computer is attached on the tractor. And this tractor is linked to the machine, which is variable rate applicator. Variable rate applicator is the machine, and you got everything in control. Map is in your laptop or computer, and this is linked to the machine. So when machine passes through different parts of the field, through different locations or coordinates, so you have already fed the information you have already programmed it, that wherever you get, if you go to this part of the field, apply so much of fertilizer only. So in areas where you have more fertility, it will apply less fertilizer. And then it will go to another management zone where you get less fertility. So there it will drop more of fertilizer. So likewise, a lot of manipulations are being done to apply the inputs. Same can be applicable to the herbicide spray. You got machines, herbicide, and they are variable rate applicator. They can change their rate as per the need of the soil. So management decisions are made, and you are doing the farming, crop production, and finally, again, this cycle repeats. So this is how you go for precision farming. Now you can see some more details about it. So what are the tools in precision farming? I have already explained remote sensing. So certain kind of data can be recorded by remote sensing. For example, we were discussing about the NDVI, then geographical information system to make the maps, global positioning system to know the location of the place in the field, and variable rate technology to apply the inputs, and then yield monitoring. Yield monitoring help us in preparing the yield maps. Yield maps, which part of your field is having more yield or likewise. Now, friends, just now it will be easier for us to understand what is site-specific nutrient management. Up to this, it was just background to make, just I was making stories so that topics becomes much easier when we start discussing it. So with the background, now you see also called as variable rate nutrient management. And here I again tell you that it is not just fertilizer or nutrients which can be used at variable rate. You can use many other inputs. Even your water, when you use fertigation, so you can drop less water in certain area you can drop more water. So likewise, for any input, we can use this technology of precision agriculture. So it can improve nutrient use efficiency. We restrict ourselves only to the nutrients. So this SSNM improve the nutrient use efficiency by distributing nutrients based on spatial variation. I already told you what is spatial variation. As per the fertility map, yield potential, soil test levels. We can prepare the maps based upon yield levels or yield maps or spatial variation like soil test values, different soil test values. So we can apply different nutrients in different zones of the soil and other spatially variable factors that influence soil nutrient availability and crop nutrient demand. Pre-season and in-season assessments of spatial information are two variable nutrient management approaches used to guide nutrient application decisions. So here, you may be using certain inputs before sowing of the crop. So that is your actually pre-season application decision. So some inputs or some fertilizer are used before the sowing also. Just now we were referring to fertilizers. So we apply some before fertilizer, before sowing also, and some are applied to the grown up crop. जब एक बार फसल हमारी अंकुरण करती है, ऊपर बढ़ती है, तो उसके लिए भी हम न्यूट्रिएंट मैनेजमेंट करते हैं. दोनों कंडीशंस में we have to make decision and we need to manage the nutrients. Now, pre-season approach, what we are doing in the pre-season approach, you can see how we can do it. Means before sowing, how we can apply, how can we use this SSNM. So you see previous crop yield data obtained from a yield monitor combine. This combine machine will give us the yield map of the field. Soil test data obtained from grid. We can go for soil test analysis. After harvest of the crop, we can test the nutrient status of soil and prepare the map with the help of GIS. Then digital orthophoto quads, black and white aerial photographs. So photographs are also used. Aerial or satellite provided NDVI. NDVI digital elevation. So this NDVI can be prepared by different techniques. The simplest one is that you can have a spectrometer, and that can be taken to the field and you can record the data, which is also a kind of remote sensor. So, and also satellites are used. Now we have in India, we are lucky that we have variety of satellites and that are running from, you see, mostly from Pune. In Pune, meteorological department is there. So they give satellite data. Their satellites are regularly 24 hours recording the data of pan-India, whole India, they are recording the data. So if you pay them money, they give you data. So data related to your coordinates, you can send them that this is my field. It is in Muzaffarnagar district. This is the location of my field. Please give me data. So you can get data of this light reflectance, and it can also identify the plants in 1 meter resolution is there. So it can make the difference in greenness. So techniques are available. Even satellite data is being used by people to prepare maps. So this aerial or satellite provided NDVI can be made available. हम करना भूल गए, NDVI लेना भूल गए, so satellite data लेके we can make it. Soil electrical conductivity, EC is more important property, somewhat important property, electrical conductivity, and soil scientists have already correlated it to soil texture, soil depth, and salinity. So many properties can be correlated to EC. So if you know the EC and based upon EC, we can prepare the maps. So these spatial data are stored. So with the space means you have different zones in the field or in the soil. Analyzed within a GIS. Now you can input this data into the GIS and interpret it for relationship influencing crop yield that can be used to guide spatially variable nutrient rate decisions. For example, the spatial distribution in soil test P, soil test phosphorus, you have one map which is based upon soil test phosphorus. On a grid sampling was used and associated phosphorus sufficiency levels are used to establish variable P recommendations in the same way field average P. So in this case, very simple, that for different soil test periods, P availability in the soil, we can decide the rates of fertilizer application. And those rates can be variably applied to the soil. Fertilizer P is then applied through a computer-controlled variable rate applicator according to the variable P rate map. So map के आधार पे ये आपकी soil में बड़े आराम से डाल देगा. With uniform P application. लेकिन अगर हम if we apply P uniformly, so low soil test P areas are under fertilizer. ऐसा भी हो सकता है. ये गलती हमारे conventional system की लिखी हुई है इसमें कि जहां कम है वहां वो कम डालेगा और जहां ज्यादा है वहां वो ज्यादा डाल देगा, उल्टा हो जाएगा. So with uniform P application, low soil test P areas are under fertilizer while high soil test P areas may be over fertilizer. So इससे problem होगी. क्या problem होगी? Yield loss due to under fertilization decreases profitability more than the over fertilization because value of lost yield exceeds the cost of excess fertilizer input. So यहाँ हानि होगी फार्मर को, अंडर फर्टिलाइजेशन में ज्यादा हानि होगी कंपेयर टू ओवर फर्टिलाइजेशन. Establishing management zones within a field based on specific spatial data can also be used. So we can have management zones. These spatial data commonly include aerial photography of soil color, correlated with surface soil organic matter, previous yield maps, electrical conductivity, elevation, soil type, and other spatial information. And definitely, I'm sure that now with the introduction of drone at a great speed and in larger areas, someday I think in India also, people may think of developing this precision nutrient management. It is also known as precision nutrient management. In place of SSNM, we can call it. So precision nutrient management can be started, I think. Someday it will start. and people will start thinking. Then for smaller plots also, such technology can be used. Although variability in weather conditions influences which one. Precision variable nutrient management is common with immobile. Now we come that which nutrient are more commonly used for pre-season, means before sowing. So mostly immobile nutrients, your potassium, phosphorus, these are immobile nutrients in soil compared to nitrogen. So technologies used to establish in-season nitrogen recommendation will likely be more efficient than nitrogen recommendations determined through pre-season variable and management techniques. Now, in-season approach. Now you have seen that pre-season and now in-season. Within the season, if you want to use this SSNM, means your crop is growing, it is standing in the field in real time, how to manage the nutrients. So remote sensing can be used here, NDVI. Light reflectance provides an excellent opportunity to quantify crop nitrogen status and additional nitrogen need that varies throughout a field. So by using NDVI, we can apply nitrogen. In-season nitrogen management decisions can be guided by real-time or on-the-go crop nitrogen status, that is canopy reflectance assessment, interpretation, and nitrogen application. Crop canopy reflectance provides a relative measure of a leaf chlorophyll content where NDVI is highly correlated with N status, uptake, and crop yield. So this we covered in detail also. Thus, vehicles equipped with canopy sensors. Vehicle equipped with canopy sensors can quickly assess variability of crop nitrogen status. Means you can have one spectrometer and apply the economic optimum rate, reducing both under and over fertilizer. Means in one go. So this is fully automatic. Your machine will record the reflectance or NDVI, and same time it will apply the variable rates in the field. So this is really quite fast. Means it will not let the plant to suffer from latent deficiency or hunger. Plant will not face hunger. While in season, crop nitrogen assessment coupled with variable and application technologies are rapidly evolving. Research has clearly established in-season variable nitrogen management is an effective means of increasing crop nitrogen use efficiency. So this should be used more during the in-season, since a portion of the total crop nitrogen requirement should be applied before planting. Utilizing both pre and in-season variable nitrogen management will especially match crop nitrogen need with an application rate. So overall, you were seeing that for certain nutrients like phosphorus and potassium, you are bound to go for pre-planting management. But for nitrogen, it is pre-season or pre-sowing and after sowing, both. So a pre-season estimate of total fertilizer nitrogen is used to determine pre-plant nitrogen rate and to establish potential ranges for in-season nitrogen rate, which are then dynamically determined. Only through in-season variable and application can the especially optimum nitrogen rate be applied. So in-season approach is very, very important. So here this leaf color chart, spread meter, green seeker, they give us information as remote sensing. Indirectly they are giving us greenness of the plants, and based upon this, certain recommendations have come, and we can apply the nutrients. So this actually completes this subject. And this SSNM, I was a bit brief about the SSNM. Hope you enjoyed it. And now your questions are welcome, your clarification and discussion on this.
Sir, how green seeker is different from SPAD?
Actually, here also, I think these manufacturers are different. They must be following some different principles of physics, light, different principles of light, but they are giving different readings also. However, interpretation is same. I mean that they give us greenness or the chlorophyll status of the plant. Yeah.
And sir, anhydrous ammonia, sir.
Yeah.
Why we can't popularize it in India? You said it is useful in American context.
Yes, it is used there. And in India, the main reason is that you need heavy machinery here. You need heavy machinery means you need, first thing is the storage tanks. Storage tanks means you need some cylinders, some mechanism to liquidify the ammonia under high pressure. So some sophisticated facilities are required, number one. Number two, you need machinery during application also. Some machinery is required for application. You need some injectors. Actually, this is kind of injections into the soil. And you need those machines. And of course, tractors are available in India. But they could not succeed in India particularly due to this reason. And somewhere people did some research on this, and they use some bullock drawn बैलों से चलने वाली मशीन बनाई थी किसी ने बंगलोर में. It was made, but again it was not. It did not succeed under Indian conditions. Otherwise, it is cheaper, definitely cheaper. Nobody is talking of this actually for a long time. There must be some other reasons also, of course. But what I know are these are the two reasons.
And so the coated fertilizers, there are many type of coating like lac and the decent urea gold. So are farmers adopting this? I mean, is that
Yeah,
effective?
you are absolutely right. So adoption rate is very low. If you see neem coated urea, so name is there, it is coated urea. So neem coated urea is popular. And also see zinc coated urea, boron coated urea, they are being used by farmers, but not that much popular. Zinc coated urea, it is in the fertilizer control order, where we should have minimum 2% zinc. We did a lot of work on zinc coated urea through some fertilizer companies and at our own also. So it was very good product, and coating is done with zinc oxide. We tried coating with zinc sulfate also, and which was more useful, this coating of zinc sulfate. Anyways, zinc oxide, because through zinc oxide solubility is very low. So the zinc supplying capacity of zinc oxide is very less. However, it is effective in slowing down the nitrification of urea. There it is more beneficial. But at the same time, it does not supply sufficient zinc. But if you have zinc sulfate is quite, it absorbs water very fast. It's how to say hydrophilic. It is very hydrophilic, and it loses coating immediately. Very soon the coating is broken down, and the release is slow, but not as slow as zinc oxide. But its zinc gives a good response. So it is means you need to make some compromises. If you want zinc sulfate, your nitrogen losses will be more compared to zinc oxide. If you want zinc oxide, then your zinc availability will be less, nitrogen losses will be less. So this is how, and many coated fertilizers are there in Japan, in Germany, in USA. These countries are using coated fertilizer, particularly for their grasses. In their turf grass, use nitrification inhibitor treated urea, urease treated urea, urease inhibitor treated urea. Variety of urea are being used in those countries, and what they do, they add those inhibitors at the time of manufacturing of the product. So their costs become little cheaper. And what we do here, we artificially coat and do this. So means these are not so popular, mainly because of cost, higher cost. I did my PhD on dicyandamide, DCD. Dicyandamide, it was 90. Yeah. So long back in 1992, we were doing a lot of work in nitrification inhibitors, urea, and that. So yes, still we are continuing coated fertilizer, but now things have changed. Now you have nano urea instead of coated fertilizer. Now new product is there. So let me stop this recording and then we can talk more.
Yes.